Understand these powerful words Catholics use when a pope dies. Even though we are sad, we are not surprised at the pope's death. Death is inevitable. God knows the best. As we received the heartbreaking news of the passing of Pope Francis, many Catholics are hearing deep, sacred words used in Vatican tradition, yet most don't know what they mean. So, I prepared this simple and clear guide to help us all understand. Please watch to the end and share with others. 1. Sedes vacanti. Latin for, the seat is vacant. This happens when the Pope dies or resigns. The seat here means the chair of St. Peter, the spiritual leadership of the Catholic Church. Until a new Pope is elected, the seat remains empty. 2. Apostolic See. This refers to the Pope's authority as the Bishop of Rome and successor of St. Peter. When a Pope dies, we say the Apostolic See is vacant. 3. Camerlengo. The cardinal appointed to handle the Church's affairs during the vacancy. He verifies the Pope's death, seals the papal apartment, and oversees preparations for the next election. 4. Sistine Chapel. This is the sacred chapel in Vatican City where the cardinals gather to vote for a new pope. It's also where Michelangelo's famous ceiling artwork is found. 5. Conclave. From Latin, cum clave, meaning, with a key. The cardinals are literally locked inside the Sistine Chapel to pray, vote, and choose the next pope, in silence and secrecy. 6. Black smoke. When you see black smoke rising from the Sistine Chapel, it means the cardinals have voted, but no decision yet. 7. White smoke. The moment white smoke appears, the world rejoices. It means a new pope has been elected. 8. Habemus Papam. Latin for, we have a pope. These are the words shouted from the Vatican balcony to announce the new Holy Father to the world. The Catholic Church is rich with meaning, history, and sacred tradition. Let us not just be followers of news, let us be people of understanding. On the burial of a pope. The pope must be buried within the 4th-6th day. The pope must be buried within the 4th-6th day after his death. For example, Pope Francis died on Easter Monday the 21st of April 2025, and will be buried on Saturday the 26th of April 2025, 5 days after his death. Likewise, Pope Benedict XVI died on the 31st of December 2022, and his was buried on January 5, 6 days after his death. Usually, in the first 3 to 5 days, the body of the Pope is kept inside the Clementine Chapel inside the St. Peter's Basilica for people to view. On the 4th-6th days, the papal funeral takes place at the main altar or outside the St. Peter's Square. Before the Mass, the Pope's body is placed inside 3 consecutive coffins: cypress coffin, lead zinc coffin and elm coffin. Why are the popes buried in 3 coffins? Part of the ritual of burying a pope includes the ritual of 3 coffins. 1. The first is a cypress wood coffin which symbolizes humility and that the pope was an ordinary human being. Included in the coffin will be a copy of the funeral mass and bags of gold, silver and copper coins. The number of coins in each bag match represents the number of years he was pope. It's very significant. It's not for him to carry it to heaven, nor because he controlled or loves money, nor to bribe heaven's gatekeeper. 2. Lead coffin. The first cypress coffin is then put into a lead coffin. Included in this coffin is a copy of documents he issued under his papal seal. The lead coffin will be soldered shut and have his name, dates of the papacy and a skull and crossbones engraved on top. 3. The third and final coffin is an elm coffin. Elm is rare in Rome and is meant to represent dignity. This coffin includes a parchment in a copper tube with a list of the pontiff's achievements. This coffin is then sealed with golden nails. When each coffin is sealed, it is wrapped with 2 violet silk ropes. Then it is sealed with wax and coat of arms of the Chamberlain and the Cardinal Dean. Why are popes buried with red chasubles? The chasuble, which is red, a liturgical color symbolizes a willingness to shed one's blood for the faith, is the color vestments popes traditionally are buried in. Where are the popes buried? Popes are buried under the basilica. There are about 91 popes buried in St. Peter's Basilica, including the beloved John Paul II who was buried there in 2005. As you walk around the church, you will see some of the most monumental ones in the various niches along the corridors. As time passed, it has been impossible to house all of the popes above ground, so they began housing them below ground in what is called the papal tombs or crypt. Pope Francis will be in the Basilica of St. Mary Major on Saturday. The church is located outside the Vatican, on the Esquiline Hill, one of the 7 hills of Rome. Pope Francis is the first pope to be buried outside the Vatican in over a century. In ancient Rome, the Esquiline was used for the burial of slaves, the poor and those condemned to death, Reuters reported. Why buried with red shoes? Pope Francis will be buried with red shoes. While each pontiff has had his own style, red shoes are a papal tradition that goes back centuries. Red shoes are as ancient as the Church. Many popes were even buried with red shoes: Paul VI, John Paul I, and John Paul II, etc. Pope Benedict XVI stepped away from his red shoes the moment he resigned from the papacy and was not buried with the red shoes. Far from a fashion statement, in the Catholic faith, red symbolizes martyrdom and the Passion of Christ. Red symbolized both the worldly authority of the Pope and the Passion of Christ. It also symbolized the Pope's submission to Christ, the love of God for humanity, and the remembrance of all the martyrs who gave their lives for Christ. What happens to the Pope's ring, Fischer-Mons ring, at death? According to Vatican tradition, the Pope's ring is a sign of authority and each Pope has a ring made in the specification for him. This ring plays a critical role in the running of the Church as signet rings used by popes to put their official wax seals on documents. So that's why the ring has to be destroyed immediately after a pope's death by the Camerlengo in front of the cardinals, so that no one can use his ring to establish the authority of the Vatican after his death. However, when Benedict XVI stepped down as pope, his ring was marked with a cross so it can be kept intact, rather than being destroyed. However, on March 6, 2013, Jesuit Father Federico Lombardi, Vatican spokesman, told reporters that this destruction had been completed, although he explained that the ring is not smashed or destroyed completely. Rather, 2 deep cuts are made in its face so that it can no longer be used as a seal. This is so because such marks would invalidate the seal on the ring. But why not destroy it completely like others? Is it because he only resigned? Would it be destroyed completely now that Benedict XVI is dead? Who assumes authority when a pope dies? The Camerlengo or Chamberlain, the Vatican Secretary of State, assumes the papal authority till a new pope is elected. He also organizes the election of the new pope. He summons all the cardinals of the world to Rome for a new pope to be elected. Cardinal Kevin Farrell, the present Camerlengo of the Holy Roman Church, has begun carrying out his official duties in this time of sede vacante. Note: no one becomes interim pope, or Vatican's interim leader, after a pope dies. The term, sede vacante, meaning, the seat being vacant, is not symbolic. It is a juridical and theological reality enshrined in Universi Dominici Gregis, Pope John Paul II's Apostolic Constitution, 1996, which governs papal succession. Paragraph 1 clearly affirms, after the death of the Supreme Pontiff, the College of Cardinals has no power with regard to the governance of the Church, except for what is provided for in the present Constitution. Therefore, no one, not even the Camerlengo, assumes papal power or acts as interim head of the Church. The Camerlengo, presently Cardinal Kevin Farrell, has a limited and clearly defined role. He is responsible for verifying the Pope's death, sealing the papal apartment, managing temporal affairs of the Holy See, and preparing for the conclave in coordination with the College of Cardinals. He does not govern the Universal Church, issue doctrinal decisions, or act as any form of pope. Likewise, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, currently Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, presides over the liturgical elements of the conclave and leads the Mass, pro elegendo Romano Pontifex. Although he is over 80 and cannot vote, he turned 90 in January 2024, his liturgical presidency remains valid. However, should he be indisposed, another senior cardinal may fulfill his ceremonial duties. Regardless, when it comes to voting, all cardinal electors under 80 are equal, and no one presides over or dominates the actual election. The Holy Spirit leads through collective discernment, not hierarchical domination. Who celebrates the Mass for a pope's burial? Usually, it is the Dean of the College of Cardinals who celebrates the funeral if it is the sitting pope who has passed on, like in the case of our beloved Pope Francis. For example, Pope Benedict XVI was the Dean of the College of Cardinals at the demise of Pope John Paul II and so celebrated the funeral. Pope Francis's funeral Mass will be held on Saturday, April 26, at 10 a.m. in St. Peter's Square, the Vatican announced Tuesday, April 22. Cardinal Giovanni Battista Re, the Dean of the College of Cardinals, will preside over the liturgy. After the Mass, the Pope's coffin will be taken to St. Peter's Basilica and then to the Basilica of St. Mary Major for burial. Honoring his personal request, Pope Francis will be laid to rest at St. Mary Major, a church he visited over 100 times during his pontificate, often before and after international travels, in deep devotion to the Blessed Virgin Mary. Pope Francis, a Jesuit who took a vow of poverty, was entitled to an annual salary of €340,000 since becoming pope in 2013, but he chose not to receive it. Instead of moving into the ornate papal apartments, he made his home in the modest Casa Santa Marta guesthouse, where he lived simply and served others with humility. He declined opulence, choosing instead a life of modesty and service. He became a symbol of compassion, rejecting material wealth in favor of spiritual richness. Grab a new knowledge today. Seek out and look very closely carefully at these pictures of the lying in state of Pope John Paul II, Pope Benedict XVI and Pope Francis. Carefully, you'll see something important around the necks of Pope John Paul II and Pope Francis. It's a white cloth with black crosses, called the pallium. It shows that the Pope is the shepherd of the Church and the Bishop of Rome. But if you look at Pope Benedict XVI after his death, you'll notice something different. He is not wearing the pallium. Why? Because Pope Benedict resigned before he died. He was no longer the active pope, so the Church chose not to place the pallium on him at death. He died as Pope Emeritus, not as the ruling pope. This small detail carries a big message. Even in death, the Church reminds us who is the Pope. Did you know this before? Peace be with you. Drop a comment and let me know what you think about the Catholic faith and traditions. Please subscribe to this channel. Thank you.